it is important for a nation to be able to protect their own history, which is respected by other people outside South Africa. Africa honors us for this. Wherever you go, when you say Mandela, they know that you are South African and they know your deeds. And it is this that I want the youth of this country to respect, to protect. It must not hinder them from being critical, from wanting more, better. It's the only way. But they cannot do that by saying, Mandela sold out, that generation sold out. They didn't know what they were doing. I like the youth. I speak a lot to the youth today. And that's why I think some of the pictures that I was able to shoot during those days, I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew that how will I tell this story one day that there were such meetings. Negotiations was not just meeting in the corners. It meant the ANC had to reorganize itself. It had to find time to digest what was going on.
The destabilization, violence, is coming increasingly clear by the day. The hand of the government in that. It's all of that. It's incapacity, unwillingness to come to terms with losing power.
One had to keep a level head, because obviously those who wanted to undermine the negotiation process and torpedo the whole transition wanted us to overreact. And if you overreacted by saying, well, to hell with it, they will have attained their purpose. If you overreacted by, perhaps responding in kind, that will also achieve their purpose. So there was this very delicate balancing act one had to perform all the time.
We'll face this serious problem if the security forces do not toe the line of the new government. If they do, they have enough capacity to contain whatever happens.
There was a debate at some point after the Boipatong massacre. Nelson Mandela was so angry at one National Executive Committee meeting, and he said, look, we must just stop these negotiations altogether, because we need to demonstrate to the apartheid government that we are not people who have lost the will to fight, that they must not think that they can continue killing our people and discrediting the ANC and its leadership, presenting it as a violent, as a helpless organization in the face of the violence that was unfolding at the time.
These people are bound to feel apprehensive about change, and therefore they are likely to get involved in acts of violence for as long as they think that is going to weaken the forces that have been suing for democratic change in the country.
If we were to do away with the system of apartheid, we needed to see the dialogue process as one that must aim to reduce the fears which those who benefited from apartheid had, because it was this fear which was driving them to postpone the day of reckoning.
What we need to do is to have democratic elections as soon as possible and to establish an interim government of national unity. And that we need to move in that direction at all haste, because the violence in the country is not going to end. It's going to continue as long as you have the National Party in government.
The only danger and the only thing that was a huge worry was how long this would take. And the longer you dragged it out, the greater the chance of there being bloodshed, loss of life, and more suffering, and the destruction generally of the South African economy. So the idea was to do it as quickly as possible and not to drag it out for too long.
History may judge us differently for the positions we took, but this was a conflict-ridden society, and we needed to pull all the political formations that existed in the country, whether they were legitimate or illegitimate in different people's eyes, but to pull them all together.
I can understand how many people in South Africa of today, 25 years after 1994, can feel that through the negotiations, the interests of the oppressed and exploited was to a certain extent shortchanged. But that's a viewpoint that is arrived at in the absence of knowledge of what the circumstances were at that time and how things happened at the time that they happened.
People actually get tired of the world symptoms. And what kind of demoralizes me, it also projects the ANC as a grouping which is unable to defend its own people. So you've woken up with corpses all the time, and it's either viable option to go for an option that says peace.
I don't think any of us really believed, because all our lives we were in a form of slavery, oppression and exploitation. And then the violence, it just seemed so impossible to get out of there. And I still sometimes now have to remind myself and pinch myself that we did.
One of the key breakthroughs in the negotiations process, in a sense, had been when we had been able to persuade the National Party that almost any of the group rights, minority rights that they had wanted to protect could be protected through a Bill of Rights, through protecting individual rights strongly.
I think one of the fundamental premises we started off in the negotiations from the ANC is that we wanted all citizens to be treated equally. But at the same time, we also wanted to make sure that the Constitution allowed for redress. It would allow for equal opportunity, reverse discrimination, as some people may called it at the time. But I think that in the end we got a really good constitution.
It is important to give people a voice. We've said from time to time that while negotiations sit, people must be pounding on the door, ensuring that their voice is being. At a more sophisticated level, that position is enshrined in our unshakable conviction that you need an elected constitution-making body, which would give the people of South Africa a voice and a choice about who would represent them at the negotiating table.
To get matters into the Constitution, it was about values. So the Constitution in its preamble says, we adopt this Constitution so as to. It's very important. 3 short words, 6 letters, 3 words, so as to. So as to do what? So as to establish a democratic and free society based on the rule of law, where all are equal before the law.
The democratization of the political system in our country is going to be a process. And as we get accustomed to how the Constitution should work, I think we will find that it's a document we can all live with.
It's a constitution that we said was our birth certificate. Birth certificate in that we didn't have a birth certificate then. We didn't have a national identity. And it is the type of document that we said we would like people to keep checking their own birth certificate on an ongoing basis so that it grows on them. They get used to this constitution and use it as a living document and feel it and go through the terms of this constitution on an ongoing basis.
I think it is our duty to say to our people, there's nothing wrong with the Constitution. The Constitution contains ideas, what we want to achieve, what type of society we want to live in, how we should relate to each other. And that we must, in every day, in all our activities, we should strive to live in that image.